Hey everybody, and welcome to a new video. Do you often wish you had more reach in your photography? That is, your subjects are just too small in the frame. That leaves you wondering, should I buy a camera with more megapixels, get a longer lens, buy a teleconverter, or should I just crop my images more? But which to choose? In this video, I'm going to compare these four options against each other to help you best decide where to put your hard-earned money. If you stay for my bonus tip, I'll show you how using the crop mode in your camera comes into this equation, and I warn you, you're not gonna like it. My name is Simon D'Entremont, and I'm a professional nature and wildlife photographer living in Eastern Canada. I make weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you behind the scenes for wildlife and nature photography. Subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, before we can get into these four options, let's get the basics straight. What we're discussing in this video are scenarios where you can't get closer to make your subject larger in the frame. Maybe sports where you're limited to the sidelines, or wildlife where your subjects are skittish, or even landscapes where that mountain or tree is across a deep ravine. What can we do to make the subject larger in the frame? And are all options that make the subject larger by the same amount the same? The answer is no. There are at least three quality considerations when zooming into a tighter field of view, and the four options I'll cover will not all give you the same result for these factors. Let's go through them. First off, how many pixels are left in the image? That is, what dimensions does your image have after the enlargement? The main issue here is that there's a big difference between optical enlargement and digital enlargement. I'll explain how this works. If I take this photo shot at 100mm f2.8, the pixel dimensions of this photo shot on my Canon R6 are 5472 by 3648, which is 20 megapixels. But if I zoom into 200mm, I get the subject much larger in the frame, like this. Now, if I crop my original photo digitally to the same field of view, I get effectively the same photo, right? No. When I crop the photo digitally, I end up with a smaller dimensioned photo, about 2800 by 1900. That's because I'm grabbing a small piece of the original photo and throwing away all these extra pixels, leaving me with a smaller file. But we look at the photo full screen, effectively magnifying the image. But when I use a longer lens, I'm optically zooming in on the image first, then I'm taking a sensor capture of the already magnified image. I'm using the whole sensor for this, the whole 20 megapixels. As you can see, optical enlargement of the subject before capturing it is a big advantage over digital magnification through cropping, as the photo with greater resolution shows more detail. Second, the impact of noise and color artifacts in the image can be different between different techniques to make the image larger in the frame. Noise in an image, which looks like grain did in film, is related to the viewing distance. The more that you zoom in on the noise, the worse it looks, and the farther back you look at it from, the less apparent it is. That means that when you digitally zoom into an image by cropping it, you're magnifying the noise characteristics and any other color aberrations of the photo. Look at this photo, one shot at 50mm and cropped in, the other shot at 200mm. I purposefully shot these at high ISOs so you can see the noise and the difference. Note that the 50mm photo that's cropped in seems noisier than the one shot at 200mm and has magenta blotches, even if they were shot at the same ISO and have the same exposure, that is, the same amount of light that hit the sensor. And third, two images of the same field of view, that is, size in the frame, can have different depths of field and different looking bokeh. Now, for some styles of photography, like landscapes, this isn't a big deal, as you're often shooting at f8 or f9 and are looking to get the whole scene in focus. But what about sports or wildlife? In those genres, having a blurry background is often used as a way of emphasizing the subject and separating it from the background. How does this work on different types of enlargement? Well, the main issue at play here is that adding focal length makes the depth of field thinner and gives a smoother background. Whereas cropping a photo tighter won't affect the depth of field nor the bokeh. Have a look at these two images. One is digitally cropped and one is taken using a longer focal length lens. Note that the latter has a smoother, creamier background that's less distracting. Okay, it's time to get into our options for making the subject larger in the frame and the pros and cons. First, let's look at plain old cropping. One of the pros of cropping is that it's essentially free. You can do it in even the most basic software. Also, you've essentially shot wider than you needed to and will purposefully discard some of the pixels in post-processing. This is actually an advantage in some ways during the taking of the photo and in post-processing, as you can crop the photo as you see fit later, and having shot wider than you need and a wider field of view gives you more options. On the downside, digital cropping is often the worst option for image quality. It reduces the resolution of the photo, making it harder to make large prints or resolve fine detail if you've cropped too much. Also, noisy images will look even noisier as you're taking what was at first very fine noise and making it larger and more apparent. By the way, check me out on Facebook and Instagram, and if this talk of wildlife photography has you thinking it's time to give that a try, I have a video course on getting into wildlife photography meant for people in the early to intermediate stage of their photography journey. Over 5 hours of content. There's a link in the show notes below. The second option we're going to look into is getting a camera with more megapixels. On the pro side, this option can negate one of the disadvantages of digital cropping. That is that it leaves you with insufficient pixel dimensions or resolution. Take this photo of a willet that I took with my Canon R6 at 20 megapixels. If I want to take a super deep crop of this bird to, let's say, this field of view, on my R6, that's 1200 by 1300 pixels. But if we take the same field of view when shot with my R5, we're left with 1833 by 2022 pixels. And if we zoom into the same field of view, we can see that indeed there is more detail left in the higher megapixel camera's image. Another benefit of getting a camera with more megapixels is also that you preserve a wide field of view. Great for tracking birds in flight or airplanes, and great if some unexpected action happens on the edge of your field of view. Optical magnification, as we'll see later with longer lenses and teleconverters, reduces the field of view, which can be problematic at times. But that's the good news. On the negative side, this is often a pricey option, buying a whole new camera, and high megapixel cameras are often the most expensive, often coming with other premium features like weather sealing and better build quality, driving up the price even more. Note that I have another megapixel option, which I'll call option 2B, and that's to get a camera with a higher pixel density rather than more megapixels total. This could include a smaller sensor. What's that, you might be saying? If you plan to crop out the sides of an image like we often do in wildlife or sports, the actual physical size of the sensor becomes less important. It's what's left after cropping that matters. If you get a smaller sensor like a Micro Four Thirds or APS-C that has the same megapixels as my 20 megapixel R6, for example, but it occupies a smaller physical surface area, the pixels are smaller and thus packed more densely. So when we crop out a smaller part of the image, we're left with more megapixels. If I crop this 20 megapixel photo down to what an APS-C camera will give me, I'm down to 8 megapixels. Whereas the uncropped APS-C image is still 20 megapixels. Now you see why crop sensors are popular for wildlife and sports. Now, getting a smaller sensor has other features and impacts like poorer noise performance, but that's a topic for another video. Okay, now let's get into teleconverters as a third option. A teleconverter is an optical magnifier of the image that you place between the lens and the camera. This 1.4x teleconverter magnifies the image by 40%. But note, also loses a stop of light, so this 600mm f4 becomes 840mm f5.6. This is a difficult subject to try to give specific advice on, as there are tons of variables at play here. Lenses, teleconverter quality, camera body specs, and so on. But here's the short version. Teleconverters can be, note that I didn't say are, a good way of getting more reach. On the plus side, they're a form of optical magnification, meaning that the image is magnified before the image is taken, so that when you do take the image, all of the megapixels of your camera are brought to bear, and you have both a magnified image and lots of megapixels left for even more cropping, printing large, or pixel peeping on the details. On the downside, you're more zoomed in when you're looking through your viewfinder. For static targets, this isn't a problem. But for moving targets, or if you're on a moving platform like a boat, the smaller field of view becomes a real pain. Ask me how I felt trying to get the smooth video footage of a polar bear in Svalbard while on a rocky Zodiac. It was frustrating to say the least. I ended up removing the teleconverter for less magnification but a more stable platform. Another downside is that you also lose a stop of light with the 1.4 and 2 stops with the 2x teleconverter. So your ISO will be twice and 4 times as high respectively. With modern noise reduction and great sensors these days, this may be less of an issue than 10 years ago, but it's still there. But here's the big caveat I need to put on the whole teleconverter thing. Teleconverters are only beneficial if you can optically enlarge the image your lens produces and it still be sharp. Problem is, not many lenses pass this test. Sharp prime lenses and the most premium zooms can benefit from teleconverters, but many lenses can't. And don't even think of adding a teleconverter to your kit 70-300. Using a teleconverter to enlarge an image that's not sharp is like taking a small thumbnail on your computer and stretching it to fill the screen. It's just getting bigger and blurrier. And you may be saying, well, that's not fair. People with already sharp lenses benefit the most from teleconverters. Yes, this is unfortunately true. And finally, option 4 is to buy a longer lens. On the plus side, you get real optical magnification, which allows the camera to use all of its megapixels and full resolution. As we've seen, optical magnification is often best. A longer lens is also sometimes easier to use than a teleconverter, as you have fewer gadgets to play with, and bare lenses built for extra reach are usually sharper than adding a teleconverter to your existing lens. Longer lenses also make the depth of field thinner and the background blurrier. For some genres of photography like portraiture, sports, and wildlife, this nice blurry background is often desired. Long lenses are also a bit more predictable than teleconverters, as with the latter, there are so many lens teleconverter camera options and permutations out there that you kind of never know what the final results will be until you actually buy it and try it. But for lenses, finding reviews of the lens you want to buy paired with a camera model you plan to use it on are usually easier to find. On the downside, with a longer lens, you have a smaller field of view. Like with teleconverters, this smaller field of view can be a challenge to keep steady or make it harder to find things in the now smaller field of view. This could lead to you missing action on the edges of the frame, like me missing these fighting pheasants in the background while I was focused on the one in front. And by the way, are all these options additive? They sure are. For my professional wildlife photography, I often use a high megapixel camera with a long focal length lens, sometimes using a 1.4 teleconverter, and then I still crop the image to where I need to. And that way I can go from this at 200 millimeters to 600 millimeters and cropped and still have a sharp image. So how do we rank these? This of course is tricky as there are so many combinations, but generally optical magnification in the form of a longer lens will yield the best results. Next, I would put more megapixels, as this gives you better resolution and still a nice wide field of view. Then teleconverters, and only if your lens is sharp. Then digital cropping comes in last. Or does it? I promised you a bonus tip, and that's to answer the question, should I use my camera's crop mode? I would place this option dead last. What's that, you may be saying? This is a feature that some cameras have to use the center of the sensor, which will magnify the image in your viewfinder. To note, and this is poorly understood, this is exactly the same as cropping your images in software later. Some people may think that crop mode is somehow using the full dimensions of the sensor and resizing the images to a tighter field of view, or magnifying the image digitally and then using all of the pixels of the sensor for capturing the image. I'm afraid none of these are the case. It's just plain old digital cropping. So that means it's worse than cropping in processing. Why worse? That's because it's the same as cropping later, but with the added disadvantage of a tighter field of view in the viewfinder, so we have more chances of missing action and it's harder to find fast-moving subjects in the frame. Also, you have fewer options for cropping later for composition. If I was using crop mode on this photo, I would have missed the opportunity to get this composition, which I think makes a much better photo. The only benefit of crop mode is that in some cameras, because you have fewer pixels being used and you have a smaller file size, the camera may have a higher burst rate in crop mode than with the full sensor, and a deeper buffer. You can decide if that's worth the smaller field of view. My advice is that most of the time, it's just better to crop in post-processing. If all this talk about cropping has you wondering about how and where to crop and more information about aspect ratios, I have a whole video on that which you can see right here. And I hope that you can go out the very next time and get your own unique and amazing photos. I know you can do it.